using decades of road safety data, medical research and creativity.
This is Mags on Media. Now, we often ask ourselves what a true measure of advertising success is. Well, we think it might be, to a degree, parody. So you might recall this ad. It was called Meet Graham by the Clemenger BBDO agency for the Transport Accident Commission in Australia. The road safety campaign dominated many an award ceremony in 2017 with its depiction of the only type of human body that could survive a car crash. Well, another Australian creative agency called Cummins & Partners has come up with its own spin on the award-winning campaign. This time, the hyper-resilient human being is designed for a different kind of ordeal, surviving the advertising industry.
For years, advertisers have warned of fatal impacts on the human body. But it's nothing compared to the impact on those who create these commercials. The advertising industry has been working itself to exhaustion. We've become desensitized to dangerously long hours, self-induced stress, and rampant alcoholism. The human body doesn't have the physiology to withstand the impact of a career in advertising. And with burnout at an all-time high, we needed a new way to talk to people. To demonstrate how the human body would need to change to survive the trauma of a career in advertising, we created a fully interactive model, complete with ears that filter out conflicting opinions, unusually thick skin to deflect scathing comments on campaign brief, an auxiliary liver to process copious amounts of alcohol, a completely removable spine for client meetings. And of course, Grant is a white male. We then toured Grant around the country to agencies where advertising burnout is most prevalent, educating young advertisers on the reality of their chosen career. Within 24 hours, Grant had become an instant phenomenon. And the results. Grant, reminding us all of the fragility of our egos.
Is this just how we sell things now? The face paint, neon, burning TVs.
Now, the ad on your screen right now makes fun of the local ad industry's, I guess we could say, propensity for hashtags, smoke bombs and sweaty running guys, all the name of what has been dubbed Afrotising. But no more, says the big chicken brand Nando's, as it calls out the advertising industry, and I think that's a brave move, for what it says is a lack of creative thinking and one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to marketing specifically to African consumers. So let's put someone on the spot, so to speak, on the griller. Doug Place, Chief Marketing Officer at Nando's, welcome.
Hello, Jeremy.
What's the big complaint?
I don't think there's so much of a complaint. There is, like all advertising tends to either follow culture or try to create culture. This idea of Afrofuturism, which is embodied by the likes of, the Black Panther film, and I think for the first time in the 21st century, it's cool to be African. It's cool to celebrate the things which are uniquely African, and I think that's a good thing. And I think Nando's is a very proud and originally authentically African brand. But what we do a lot of is listen. Funny, I know we're known for chirping, but actually before we chirp, we listen. And we've seen a lot of people kind of commenting with somewhat a scratched head to say, what's with the oily running guys? What's with smoke bombs? And what does this have to do with beer or banking or anything? So we just really wanted to capitalize and respond to an existing conversation, which is to say, whilst it's cool to be African, is that really what being African is? And what does real South African flavor look like? And so we wanted to do what Nando's has done for a very long time, which is to kind of have a slick, smart, South African, funny view of what is this Africanness all about.
So within your genre, perhaps, and more broadly, what is South African or African advertising? How does it differ from what we might see in other countries?
Look, I don't think we can comment on what advertising works like in other countries, but advertising is meant to respond to an inherent customer need or a customer problem, and in our case, having genuinely, authentically cooked South African chicken is something which we're proud of and long since done. So we just wanted to do it in a way which has an inside look, yes, to the ad industry, but that's a very small group of consumers, unfortunately. They're not paid particularly well, so they don't buy a lot of chicken. But the general South African public, and as it was seen in the reception of this commercial, has been, yeah, you're quite right. That is crazy.
So are you suggesting just a lot of brands are forcing the African issue to pigeonhole themselves to perhaps be politically correct, and in so doing, they're missing a beat because people are seeing right through it?
I think so. I can't respond in terms of what other brands wanted to do. What we're responding to is how people have responded to these commercials, which is, did we really need this kind of grass-skirt, hypo-futuristic, heavy metallic genre? What exactly do you want us to buy?
Isn't advertising all about hyperbole and stereotype?
It can be,
that's
yeah.
what they're trying to do.
I think that's one of the
kind of works.
That's one of the challenges of advertising is, whilst hyperbole is important, if it's insincere or inauthentic and not true, then you create an expectation for a product or a brand or a service which isn't adequately met.
But how do you know it's not true?
That's the question we're asking, and most of the commercial we put together is, what is with the smoke bombs, and what is with the oily running guys, and what is with all these crazy over-the-top things? Is all the Africanness about this, or is it about something else?
Back to my point, within your brand, how do you define the link with real, authentic African messaging?
There's so much about Nando's which is African. I mean, it's one of the few brands which has gone from South Africa to the world. I mean, we're in 24 countries now across the world, probably close on 30 if you look where we sell our grocery sauce bottles. Our restaurants are uniquely, authentically African designed with African furniture. We're the largest owner of contemporary South African art. We have more art across the world, which rightfully celebrates the South African creativity. This isn't us bandwagoning on what seems to be quite a recent slant on Afrofuturism, but as saying what's always been true for Nando's for 30 odd years.
Why does your brand feel so strongly about this? Why have you decided to wade into this debate? I mean, what harm is being done if you have oily smoke bombs or whatever you call them?
I don't think we haven't said it's harmful at all, which is why I think it's funny. Yeah. And the reception to this has been, again, very much consistent with what other people's reception to this was. If you're going to be African, then be thoroughly African. And if you walk into a Nando's restaurant, you can't help but experience, Africanness from start to finish. Not
so what
just
you're also suggesting, Doug, is that some brands are saying, well, we'd like to be a bit African, but we're hedging our bets because of all the negativity sometimes that surrounds the discourse around the continent. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think brands try to be cool, because if you create an association with being cool and your brand is associated with it, there's, I suppose, a rub-off with this. And there's something very cool about being African. And, this idea of Afrofuturism is something which we rightfully and really want to celebrate. I think all we're calling out is, is the whole brand experience African, or is it only just the cool, slick advertising parts of it?
Is this an issue that is important to your consumers, or is it simply an issue, I wonder, Doug, that is of interest to people who buy and make advertising and, suckers like me that like to report on it? Does anyone really care about this?
No, I don't think. I think they do. And in fact, I know they do. The reception of this ad, I mean, it's got the biggest online reception to an ad in Nando's history.
What have people been saying?
They have rightfully pointed out that, yes, this is what we've always believed. What is with this heavy Afrofuturism, and what does this have to do with the products it's selling? And Nando's is often accepted because it is seen as a truly South African, a proudly South African, because we can laugh at all the things that South Africans laugh about. We can be quite thoughtful about the things that everyday South Africans find painful or difficult or interesting. And so there's a whole kind of momentum behind the Nando's brand beyond just this commercial, which gives this commercial credibility.
And in so doing, you've killed the smoke bomb industry.
I don't know. I think we've just asked what it is with the smoke bomb. I mean, that was a really fun thing to shoot. I hope we get to shoot with smoke bombs again.
Doug Place, thank you very much indeed. Chief Marketing Officer at Nando's. Weighed in with your opinion on that. You can go to our Facebook and our Twitter feeds. Coming up, how a 150-year-old brand is keeping abreast of digital developments to effectively market to that difficult millennial sector.